All right. Hi, my name is Remy Ball. I am an Education Abroad advisor in the Education Abroad office at Texas A&M. Thank you all for joining us today to learn more about affording education abroad. We are going to go over several different things. We're going to go over the information from our office, as well as information from scholarships and financial aid and money education. I am not a complete expert on scholarships and financial aid or money education, so we always recommend that you follow up with those offices if you have any specific questions. But I will give you the information that I do have. And we will also, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat box as we go, and we'll circle back at the end and answer those. All right, so to get started, Education Abroad at a glance. We send at Texas A&M the most students abroad during an academic year, which is something we're really proud of, but we also offer so many opportunities for you to get involved. Whether you've picked a program or not already today, or you're just joining us to learn more, we're going to be going over a lot of different information. So again, questions, feel free to put them in the chat box. If you're still looking for programs or you're not sure how long you want to go abroad for, at Education Abroad, and then through our programs, they can range from 1 week to an academic year, so we can find you an opportunity that fits well for what you're looking for. A lot of students through A&M study on programs that are sponsored through A&M. We have students that have visited all seven continents. Western Europe tends to be our most popular destination for Aggies as well. So just to go over some information about education abroad can be affordable. I'm going to go ahead and pull this up here. There are a lot of factors to consider, such as location, the cost of living abroad, duration, types of programs, and available scholarships. For example, our exchange programs tend to be some of our most affordable ways to go abroad, because even though you're abroad for 3 months, you are still paying A&M tuition and fees, and the cost of living abroad can be more affordable than living at A&M depending on where you are. Also, some students don't feel that, or sometimes you may think that financial aid doesn't necessarily apply to education abroad, but it does. Most Texas A&M students who study an intern or research abroad use some sort of financial aid. There are scholarships, loans, and grants available. And then also, sometimes students believe that going abroad may delay your degree completion, but this is a complete myth. Many students will earn credits going abroad that you would take on campus. You also may get the opportunity to take courses that you wouldn't necessarily be able to take on campus either. And a lot of students go abroad during summer or winter break and can get ahead with their degree. I was one of those students. I studied abroad during the summer in between my sophomore and junior year, and was able to get 9 credits and was 9 credits ahead in my degree plan. So it is possible to go abroad during non-traditional times if you were concerned about spending a fall or spring semester away. Also, to know if you are receiving some sort of scholarships while you're on campus, scholarships are not guaranteed. So we always recommend having a backup plan. So it's great that you're joining us all here today. We also recommend applying for as many scholarships as possible. Also when it comes to financing programs, we never say it's never too soon to start planning for your international experience. We recommend at least 9 months to a year because scholarship deadlines, for example, our university deadline for the university-wide scholarship for financial aid for spring programs is October 12th. So that's about 3 months prior to departure. Same thing for our fall programs, is the deadline is actually February 1st. So it's important to pay attention to those scholarship deadlines so you can make the most out of your financial planning. Also, even if you don't get scholarships or financial aid now, all students can apply for the university-wide scholarship. And if you have any questions or concerns, we recommend meeting with a financial advisor to determine if you meet the eligibility requirements. So there are several education abroad types of programs. The first is a faculty-led program, and this program structure for this is you go abroad with a group of Aggies. So faculty-led programs are led by Texas A&M faculty. You're taking courses that are designated around specific A&M courses, and therefore you're getting A&M credit. So if you are someone who has transferred into A&M with a ton of credit and you need to fulfill your degree requirements, faculty-led programs are great for that, especially if you've transferred in with a lot of credits before. For faculty-led programs, there are varying eligibility requirements. And if you have any questions on faculty-led programs, or if you think you may be interested in one, they go abroad for several different lengths of time. I oversee 15 faculty-led programs at A&M, and some range for only 2 weeks abroad, and then one is an entire semester. So, and a lot of them happen over the summer. So just know that. And then also financial considerations for faculty-led programs. You pay A&M Texas A&M tuition and fees, so it's going to be the same cost as it would be for a regular credit within your degree plan. And this can vary depending on which college you're taking your credits through. And then most programs run during summer or winter break that are terms that students don't normally take classes. So you may also need to consider that as well. Again, I'm going through this pretty quickly, so if you have any questions throughout, please feel free to put them in the chat box and we'll circle back. There are also another way to go abroad through A&M is field trips and student groups. Field trips are typically led by Texas A&M faculty, staff, or student organization. They can be credit bearing or non-credit bearing and are usually 1 to 2 weeks long. So for field trips that are run through academic courses, sometimes field trips are associated with a specific course. So if you are involved in a course that has a broad component, it may be a week, typically over spring break, or prior to the start of winter break, or this summer, maybe finishes, you finish the spring semester and then you go abroad for that short period of time in the month of May. So that is an opportunity. I do want to let you know that field trips and short-term faculty-led programs that are happening over winter break have been canceled for this upcoming semester. So if you are thinking of going abroad through a field trip or student group, you may want to consider potentially next fall for that. And this is just due to COVID-19 restrictions. The field trips also for financial considerations, they must be credit bearing and meet enrollment eligibility requirements to access scholarships and financial aid. If you're curious about field trips, a lot of these are done through your academic departments. So I would go ahead and speak with your academic advisor or department to see if there are field trips that you could go on that are associated with a course. Scholarship deadlines will also correspond to the term in which you are taking the course. So if you are taking, if you're going on a field trip and need scholarship and financial aid, that'll be due in the fall. Also, some student organizations may be eligible for funding through student activities or their college. The next is exchange programs. Exchange programs tend to be the most affordable in terms of the length of time that you are abroad. The structure for this is that you attend a partner university, and A&M has partner universities all across the world. Some of these exchange programs do have language requirements, and then they also, you need to have a 3.0 and be going to be a junior or senior classification. This will vary depending on the program you want to go into. And then also this includes their exchange programs that are offered through all majors and all colleges and departments. And then the courses will come back as transfer credit. And these are primarily fall and spring semesters, though there are a handful of exchange programs that do happen over the summer. For exchange programs, you are paying A&M tuition and fees, and then also just considering the cost and funding of living at that host university and or in that host country. Through our Education Abroad portal, there are cost and funding tabs on all of our exchange programs, and you can look and see what that cost is associated with living abroad. And again, they're one of the most cost-effective ways to go on a study abroad program. We also have affiliate provider programs. And what affiliate provider programs means is essentially a third-party provider that you can go through to study, intern, research, volunteer abroad. And our affiliate provider programs are available summer, semester, winter programs of all lengths of time. You could go abroad for as short as 3 weeks or 2 weeks. And they also have full-length semester programs. Affiliate provider programs, what's great about them is that if an exchange program or a faculty-led program is not going to a country that you want it to go to, our affiliate providers may have a location for you that's not available through A&M. Affiliate provider programs will transfer back as, will come back as transfer credit and can be pass-fail as well. On our website, we have a list of previously approved courses that students at A&M have taken through affiliate providers. So if you were nervous or concerned that your courses won't transfer back, you can go ahead and look and see that it is possible, and also learn more about which classes people in your degree plan have taken that have transferred back You can also work with your academic advisor to identify courses that you may be eligible to take abroad. Depending how far you are along in your degree plan, it may not be as flexible as others. Whereas if you have a handful of electives or core requirements that you can take abroad, affiliate providers can be good for that. Also, there's research and internship opportunities that are available through affiliate providers. Some affiliate providers, such as CEA or Global Internship, they allow you to work with a career coach to help you find a potential internship abroad. So that's a really great way if you're considering an internship to sort of go abroad through an affiliate provider. Affiliate provider programs, there's additional financial considerations for these. There are additional scholarships that are available through affiliate providers. Some will even offer a discount on flights or a flight voucher for you to purchase your flight to go abroad. You do not pay Texas A&M tuition and fees if you're going through an affiliate provider. So that's something to think about, because oftentimes those credits are rolled into the fee that's associated with an affiliate provider program. And then also federal funding may only apply to courses that are within your degree plan. So just something to think about. The last sort of category we have for programs is independent travel. So independent travel simply means if you found an exchange program or an affiliate provider that's not listed in the Education Abroad portal, you can still go on that program. You just need to fill out the independent travel registration, which is through our website. And again, this can count as interning abroad, volunteering abroad, research, and then just other programs that aren't necessarily associated. So if you found a college that was in a country, for example, say you found a college in Australia, and they have all the courses you want to take and they transfer back to A&M, we can go ahead and help you with that. Same thing, I did what would be considered an independent travel experience. I, as a student, did Semester at Sea. This is a program that's run through Colorado State University, and I just worked with the Education Abroad advisor to make sure my courses transferred back, and I was able to participate on that program. So just because it's not listed in the A&M portal doesn't necessarily mean you can't do it. It just means you need to work with your academic advisor to make sure you get the credit. So for scholarships and financial aid, so federal financial aid is dispersed 10 days before the start of your A&M term or program departure date. So just know this, especially if you're applying for a faculty-led program and it starts in the summer, the program fees for faculty-led programs get posted in January if you're going abroad in the summer term. So that fee will be due in January. Payments for most programs will be due the term before your program departure. So like I said, due in spring 2021 for summer 2021. So it's important to discuss with financial aid how progress towards your degree affects your financial aid eligibility. And then it's also your responsibility to take into consideration that aid disbursements occur after the program payment is due. So the program for faculty-led that happens during the summertime would need to be fully paid for in January. There are some ways you can help with this, such as applying for the Texas A&M scholarships. So there's a university-wide scholarship, which includes the International Education Fee Scholarship. There's a Study Abroad Fellowship. There's also the Global Opportunity Fund, which could be up to $10,000 for anyone whose family. There are different qualifying factors that are listed, so you can go ahead and look at those. There's also college and department scholarships, and then there's an academic study scholarship for a study abroad stipend. And then these awards can range from $500 to $2,000. So we always say to make sure that you apply for as many as possible, because even though you might only get 500 from one or 1,000 from another, when you combine all of those, that can help pay for your entire experience. You also must have a FAFSA on file to be considered for need-based aid. So if you do not have one, we recommend filling out a FAFSA with the financial aid office as soon as possible. Also, I just want to touch on this is that there is the ability to enroll in an installment plan. So if you are in a faculty-led program or an exchange program and you get charged those fees up front, if you enroll in the installment plan, you have to do this every single semester. So if you are not enrolled in the installment plan, if you're enrolled in the fall, doesn't mean that rolls over for the spring. There's a nominal fee associated with it, and that'll break up your payments across the semester, and that'll help break up your payments from if you enroll in it in January, it'll break up those payments between January, February, March, and April. So for scholarship eligibility, there's a lot of things that get rolled into that, such as your GPA, how many credits you're taking. To be most of our summer programs, you need to be enrolled in at least 6 credits. And then also only students who have a confirmed status in an A&M program are, or committed status in the program are selected according to their eligibility requirements and scholarship and financial aid. And then also students who meet the eligibility requirements should apply for the university-wide scholarships regardless of your program application status. So if you're still thinking about your program or you're not sure if you want to do it, still go ahead and apply. Again, we recommend applying as early and often as possible. As noted, these are the deadlines for the university-wide scholarship. So the fall and academic programs, that's already passed, but the winter and spring break programs and spring programs in general, the deadline is October 12th. It's already open, so if you're thinking of going abroad in the spring at all, go ahead and apply. One of the biggest factors is that especially for all of these, and especially for summer programs, that application opens October 15th, and then it closes February 1st. The scholarships and financial aid office, they're the ones that oversee these deadlines. So this is the deadlines that we currently have, but they're the ones that are responsible for closing those deadlines. So just make sure that you are checking to make sure that you are meeting these. And also don't apply too late. Sometimes these programs, when you go ahead and apply for these scholarships, some students will wait till the deadline to apply, and then the site gets overloaded and crashes, and then your application never gets through. So even if you're considering it, go ahead and still apply as early as you can for these scholarships. And this is just an overview of our website. On the links to the Education Abroad portal, under the side here of our website, you'll see funding. You can check out scholarships. You can just click on each. There's also one for financial aid, additional funding sources, and if you are a student that's receiving veterans benefits, you can learn more there. And then this is just what the university scholarship application looks like. You'll need to log in with your NetID to start the scholarship application. And then on the left-hand side, you can see the application progress and status. There's no submit button at the end of your application, and you won't receive a notification through email that your application is complete. So just make sure that you are following along on the side to check the status. So for non-Texas A&M Education Abroad scholarships, eligibility requirements and deadlines can vary. You can visit our website for more information on opportunities. For national scholarships, there's the Gilman Scholarship. If you are Pell Grant a recipient, you are eligible for the scholarship. There's also several other scholarships that are listed here. There's a critical language scholarship if you are going abroad to study a language that qualifies. That's another form of aid that you can get. There's also Project Go. This is for students who are planning on commissioning into a branch of the military upon graduation. That is another scholarship. If you are planning on doing that, feel free to check that out. Alicia McGurr is the contact there if you have any questions. There's also the Fund for Education Abroad, and there's the website listed there as well. All of these links are also available on our website, so if you need to go back and check, they are all listed there. Additional funding sources, like I said, veteran benefits can only be used towards A&M sponsored credit-bearing programs, so that may be a field trip or a faculty-led program, potentially an exchange program, but the different benefits cover different amounts or types. So we always recommend working with veteran benefits to make sure that it'll fit. Veteran benefits may only be used to fund study abroad if it's required for your degree plan. There's also prepaid tuition plans, can be used towards any credit-bearing experience, and then just make sure that you work with the student business services, and then make sure it gets applied to your bill. There's also the FAFSA, and then also federal student loans and alternative loans that you may be eligible for, and that'd be working with scholarships and financial aid to see what you may qualify for. There's also the options for short-term loans. This may help pay for early program expenses. I do want to highlight there are some that are available through scholarships and financial aid that may have interest associated with them, and there's like a repayment plan. I do want to highlight the LT Jordan Institute Overseas Loan Fund. This is available through the LT Jordan Institute that is found in the MSC on the second floor. And what this is this is an interest-free loan of up to $1,500 for travel for education abroad. If you needed more, you could go ahead and apply for it and just fill out the application and write why you need the funds. But this is an interest-free loan that you have to repay by the time you graduate. And it can help pay for upfront expenses. So if you needed assistance paying for a flight, your passport, a visa, and any of those sort of upfront travel costs that you might not necessarily get until you get your scholarships and financial aid, which the aid, again, gets dispersed 10 days before a program starts. So, so if you needed money up front, the LT Jordan Institute Overseas Loan Fund is a really great option for that. So there's a financial aid request form, and this can be used to adjust your cost of attendance through your FAFSA if you're going abroad. And this is something that you can work with Education Abroad to get. If you're going on a faculty-led program, we can assist you with specific faculty-led program ones, and then you can also work with us if you are going on an exchange or affiliate provider program. And then after you've received a financial aid request form, you can email abroad@tamu.edu if you have general questions about this, but you would need to be enrolled in a program to receive a financial aid request form. And if you're going on an exchange or affiliate provider program, you would want to contact tcabroad@tamu.edu. And then you would also, if you're going on a specific faculty-led program and need a financial aid request form, a designated advisor will be associated with that. So that'd be who you would email. And then you'll bring that form to Scholarships and Financial Aid to go over your personal financial situation. So for Money Education, their office can help with creative funding options and then also budgeting. You'll see a lot of students may do crowdsourcing, whether that's through online fundraising that can be shared via social media to raise money for your program. Some students may choose to sell items, whether that's their own personal items through Facebook Marketplace, or find a sponsor or donations from local organizations. There are many scholarships out there that you might not necessarily think of. So just be on the lookout for ones that may be available to you. And then some students may choose to get a part-time job, whether on campus that offers flexible student schedules or during the summer when you have more time. I've had some students get really creative with this. I had one student who decided to make a budget for a year, knowing that she was going on a program that would take her to multiple countries and she wanted to save as much as possible. So she created a budget for herself and stuck to it and was able to save up money that would be used to spend on free time while she was in a country. So it's just something to think about if you're concerned about how you're going to finance your trip while you're abroad. Also, funding timeline. They say about 12 months, start budgeting and saving. Consider a separate savings account for while you go abroad or while you're preparing to go abroad. So that way you can put money into that account that you don't necessarily touch during the year. So 9 months for a program. When you apply for your program, this may be your first expense. You can set up your budget for all pre-trip expenses. That may be your flight and your passport, and then also apply for those financial aid and scholarships. They say 6 months before, start plan for your program-specific fees and out-of-pocket expenses. Some programs may include a handful of meals, depending on where you are. Some may include housing as well, but if you have to pay for housing or meals on your own, just something to consider and look at. Do some research about the countries you're going to. See what a typical meal costs for lunch, dinner, breakfast, etc. So you can start to think about how much you might need per day. And then also applying for scholarships as well. And then again, 3 months before, buying all the stuff you'll need, look for end of the season sales. And then also, again, research your city and come up with a reasonable spending plan for the time you are there. I am someone that likes to try all of the food when I'm abroad. So while food may have been included with some of the meals while I was abroad, I'm someone that wants to sample everything and try everything. So if that might be you, be realistic about how much you want to spend. And I'm also someone that likes to send postcards and collect little items so that, may influence your budget. And again, be realistic about that. Because that was definitely something that when I went abroad, I wasn't thinking about. And then 1 month before, again, make sure all payments are in place and set aside an emergency fund. That's important now more than ever during COVID-19. If something were to happen, and again, regardless of COVID, if something were to happen while you're abroad and you needed to either get home quickly or be able to spend money on, if your phone was stolen or your passport, or you lost something that was that you need while you're there, you want to make sure you have some sort of emergency fund or access to credit if you needed. And then also while you're abroad, making sure you're tracking your expenses, stick to a budget, and make adjustments as necessary. So while you're budgeting for your trip, there are ways that you can learn about the currency where you're going. You can also look up and see if it fluctuates a bit. This will give you a realistic idea of how much the cost of things abroad will be. And then also determine what your income will be. So if you're getting scholarships, financial aid, loans, savings, etc. And then figuring out your pre-trip needs. So tuition, transportation, baggage fees, insurance. If you're enrolled in a faculty-led program or an exchange program, we automatically enroll you in insurance abroad. But that insurance abroad is about $1.26 a day. And then also, if you need a phone plan, some countries, they have great Wi-Fi and you can connect wherever you go. For example, in Ireland, they even have Wi-Fi on the bus system. So I never felt when I was in Ireland that I wasn't connected. So, but in some other countries, Wi-Fi can be sparse and can not be as fast as you're used to in the United States. So just considering that, if you might want to have that. Some programs will also require that you get a prepaid phone in country, so that way they can connect with you as an emergency, if an emergency were to happen. And then again, figuring out in-country expenses. So some of this stuff may be included, but might not. So again, checking out that cost of living, and then also figuring out what your wants are. So some programs include excursions, some do not. So looking at if you are going to spend a semester, for example, in Europe and you want to be able to travel on the weekends, looking up like how much those tickets cost in advance to be able to plan a weekend away. And if that's something that you want to be able to do, making sure you're setting enough money aside for that. And then continuing to manage your money and find ways to save before and during your trip. One of the things I highly recommend is getting a debit or credit card that doesn't charge you international transaction fees. It's crazy how quickly those sort of fees add up while you're abroad. I was abroad last year working for an education abroad program for about 4 months. And I think I spent about right around $100 was charged to my credit card and small transaction fees when I used my debit card. So even if it was, 47 cents here or $1 there, it really adds up quickly. So just think in terms of keeping your expenses low while you're abroad. Definitely getting a card that has no international transaction fees. And then also thinking about baggage fees to go abroad. Those can be relatively expensive considering the weight and size of the bags you're traveling with. So I always recommend getting a really light suitcase and traveling as light as possible and not overpacking. We tend to underestimate the fees that are associated with baggage. I have a nightmare story of having to spend I think I spent it was about $500 to ship my bag back from abroad because of how heavy it was, and the airline carrier would not let me check it, so I had to have that shipped back. So that's just something to think about. That was something that I was not prepared for, and I wish I had been. So definitely think about how much you're packing and how much you're spending while you're abroad. Sorry, again, this is sort of just going over those credit cards again. And then also make sure you tell your credit card company that you are traveling. Most of this can be done online now, given that you can list the countries that you're going to, so that way they don't suspend your accounts while you're abroad. And then also another way to save money is to suspend your accounts in the United States while you're abroad. So you can suspend your phone. You can also suspend your car insurance if you have any insurance fees that you pay. Same thing for any subscriptions. A lot of those like for example, Netflix or Spotify, some of those things won't work while you're abroad. So Spotify does, I found that out, but Netflix won't if you're in different countries. So you can suspend a lot of those accounts to save money while you're abroad. And then also just finding good deals. So your student ID can get you pretty far while you're abroad. It can get you access to various museums. You can also get student fees on excursions. Hostels can be a pretty cheap way to travel, but it's completely up to you on what you find to be the most safe for you. If you're not someone that would feel safe in a hostel, then prepare to budget for staying at hotels. Same thing, you can also get student discounts on buses. And then also for discounted flights, STA travel is no longer, and as we all know, due to COVID, some airlines are not necessarily operating. So make sure that you're paying attention to fees that are associated with flights abroad. Another thing that goes along with flights is, again, those baggage fees. While you're traveling in countries, and if you got a cheap flight, if you're in Europe and you can travel around relatively easy on different airlines, some of those airlines have a lot of, they might be really cheap, but they're like the Spirit Airlines of Europe. They might charge you for every little bag you bring on. If you brought a purse but also have a backpack, they charge you more. So just making sure you're paying attention to what you're paying for while you're abroad. And then other ways to lower costs, again, smaller airports can be cheaper, but factor in the cost of transportation to get there. Pay-as-you-go phones are often cheaper than an international calling plan as well. In other countries, tipping isn't always necessary, so that can also save you money, but pay attention to that because you want to make sure that you are being culturally appropriate where you are. Bring a reusable water bottle. Also, some countries, the water source, you can't necessarily drink from a tap. So it's something to pay attention to, especially if you are able to fill up your water bottle at hotels, or you might be in an area where clean water isn't accessible. And then there's also cashback apps. I love these that you can use to get cashback while you're in the United States prior to leaving, and it's another way to cut costs. The Money Education Center is in the pavilion. They are doing appointments. You just need to make one ahead online. Same thing for scholarships and financial aid. So again, if you are planning to go abroad, this is your little quick to-do list. Plan ahead. It's always recommended that you plan at least 1 year in advance, or at least start thinking about it a year in advance so you can start to compile and source and pay attention to deadlines. I'm a big fan of making spreadsheets and looking at deadlines and making sure you're applying in advance. Also, make sure you talk to anyone, whether that be your family or the financial aid office, to learn more about what your options may be. And then once you've finalized your program choice, if you haven't met with an education abroad advisor already, we recommend going ahead and working with our office to look and see what what the program choice is and how that may impact your cost of attendance. So we are located in the pavilion first floor. If you're wanting to make an appointment, we go ahead and recommend you check out our advisor's virtual advising appointments first. All appointments have to be done in advance, and we are unfortunately not taking walk-ins at this time. You need to go ahead and schedule an appointment. If you wanted to meet in person, you can go ahead and email abroad@tamu.edu, and we can go ahead and find someone that is available to meet with you at the time you're wanting to come in. But again, all appointments are being done in advance pretty much across the board between all of our offices. So make sure you're emailing and connecting with us. And we will do all we can to make sure that you have a successful trip abroad, especially including those pre-departure items that you may need assistance with. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen, and we're going to check out the chat box if there are any questions.
No questions at the moment, but if they come in, I will let you know.
Okay. All right, well, thank you all for joining us today. I know we went a little bit over, but I appreciate your time. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to our office. We will stay on for just a little bit longer in case anyone has any questions. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. And thank you, Melanie, for moderating this for us. Again, please feel free to reach out to our office if you have any questions.